All right, we are live and we are starting session 8 of The Road Goes Ever On. And the title of this chapter is Of Friends and Foes. It's still dark. It's early morning. The sun has not even started to slowly creep up in the far eastern horizon as 5 cloaked and shadowed forms move almost silently through the woods, deftly stepping over roots and rock, ducking under branches, bows in hand. These are skilled woodsmen, used to moving in the darkness. Their breath even, though slightly labored. They're on a mission. These are rangers of the north, sworn guardians of the lands, sworn to keep back the darkness and protect those creatures that reside. Therefore, you run along with these 4 other rangers, leaving your 2 companions back at the camp. You're trailing behind. Redwald had approached you sometime in the evening before, and he had told you that you were needed. Scouting is what he said. They had left Tompkin behind with the others. You're searching for orc or signs of them. What thoughts are going through your mind, Arafor, as now we're several hours into your journey, as you know Moira and Lily, who were sleeping at the time, will awaken to find you gone?
Yeah, even after a couple hours, there's like a pit down in Airfor's stomach. He's trying to process everything that's happened already, and he's assured, to a lesser extent, Lily, that he intends to continue on Ordreth's vow, and that he's going to be there to help them. And yet, now he is coerced into moving with these people who have now claimed that they need him. Pang of guilt and almost shame as he like moves with the Rangers. He's like more distracted than he'd usually be. As he tries to process like the guilt of Orodrith dying, the guilt of like now leaving Lily and Moira, and hoping that he can make it back to them before that they leave. And then also this like failure to consider himself a proper ranger anymore, given what he's let happen to the party, and the other people around, and how it's like his duty to protect them, and he's failed. He's kind of got like this mixture of grief and identity crisis all happening at once, but he's still trying to pretend as if he's focused and in top shape for these other rangers, not wanting to concern them or give them away.
Yeah, give me a perception roll. All these thoughts are going through your mind, Arafor.
Alrighty. I'm gonna roll it with disadvantage because I think that makes sense right now. That's a 7.
Yeah. You notice, but maybe a moment too late, that the form before you has stopped, and you run into them, and you kind of slide off, and the man turns to you and he says, through kind of clenched teeth, he says, "Watch where you're going, fool." And you look, and it's the face of Arnkel looking up at you. You see his hood has fallen back a bit, and you can see his shaven head. There's no love in his eyes as he looks at you. And you notice I guess maybe in your embarrassment at losing focus, that the others have stopped and they've all started kind of hunkering down behind these roots and rocks, and they're looking down into a deer path below. The trees are thinner there. Off in the distance, you can start seeing the orange, reddish glow of the sun as it's starting to rise in the distance. And it's slowly starting to bathe the tops of the trees around you. What do you want to do?
Erifor like grits his teeth and winces as if he's been punched as Arnkel looks at him after he runs into him, and just kind of shakes his head as if he could shake the thoughts from his mind by doing so, though clearly he doesn't. And he'll just give a nod, like not even listening to Arnkel's insults or slights, just shaking his head in agreement blankly. And he's going to try to focus himself and get himself back into the here and now instead of the past and the future. Kind of taking a couple moments to breathe. Is going to like kind of lean in around Arnkel and start like looking down at this path and seeing what he can see.
Yeah. You see what the others see. Varen, you see him. He stretches out an arm, pointing a finger, and you can see these shadowed forms slowly making their way down this path. You can hear the guttural sounds of their speech. Do you speak Orcish?
No.
Okay. So you would just hear. And Varen leans in and he says, "It's a party of orc." And you count them. Give me a perception.
Much better. 19.
Yeah. Now in the moment and calm, your training as a ranger has taken over. The friends of your fellowship forgotten, at least in this moment. You count 5, 6, 9, 10 orc making their way down this path. You hear Arnkel sneer, crouch beside you. We should kill them all.
There's too many. Even if we surprise them, they'll overrun us.
He looks at you and he whispers, he leans in close, whispers quietly, he goes, "I knew you had no courage. It's only 10 of them. We are rangers."
What I lack in courage, you lack in sense. Even orcs can kill a man with ease.
Oh, I love that. That was awesome. He just kind of his mouth just kind of twists as he's thinking of some way to some sort of retort, but he finds himself lacking. And you hear Varen kind of just flash his hand, telling the both of you to silence yourselves. As they draw closer, you can see, yeah, that's what it is. They're just dressed in their dirtied leathers. They have wooden shields just dangling from their backs. Most of them are carrying spears, and you all see that they carry the wicked curved swords that many orc are often equipped with. And give me a stealth roll, please.
That is a modified 20.
You are a ghost. So they start moving along this path below you. And you guys all sit in silence as they pass, until you see the last orc disappear from sight. The sun is slowly starting to rise further. It's starting to cast kind of like this cascading rays of light as they kind of cut through the openings within the trees. And you could feel it's the sun starting to warm the air. What do you want to do now?
Yeah, Airfor is just like watching this band of orcs go on, watching them pass. He's gonna kind of eye up towards the other rangers to try to get a gauge of what their intentions are. If they're gonna attempt to engage, or if they're going to hold back.
Yeah. What you as you kind of drawing closer to Redwald and Theodulf, the two of them seem to be talking about what they overheard the orcs talking about, and you notice they were chattering the whole time they were walking by. And as you walk over, you hear Redwolf say, "They outnumber us 2-1. I don't know if I want to risk our lives for this band. Better we report their movement." And Theodulf says, "I don't know, though. They say they were seeking someone, a woman, sent by their master. A woman with blonde hair." And that's when you would kind of hunker down with them.
Yeah, Airfor hears that and like his stomach like involuntarily tightens. And he's like trying to like not look unnerved, probably unsuccessfully. Oh, right. We engage and die while we're outnumbered. We do no good to anybody. Knowledge is power in this situation. With honor, not shame. No reason to risk.
Redwald kind of weighs your words, Arafor. He looks to Varen and to Ardenkel, and he says, "What of you two?" Varen, who was nodding the whole time you were speaking, says, "Arafor is right. We gain nothing if we die here on this path. Who then would carry the message of their movements?" And Ardenkel kind of just he spits into the earth, and he says, "Arafor would hide his cowardice and what would seem wisdom. What of the woman? We would just let them go and maybe butcher her? Are we not rangers?"
If we get butchered here, then we guarantee that she falls. With knowledge, we can protect her. And get help if we need it, bolster our numbers, even just by a couple. We can make it a fair fight. We guarantee victory.
Redwald kind of you could see that he's weighing. "I'm not sure where our brethren are right now." And you see him, he looks down at the path, which is now empty, kind of running his hand across the stubble of his cheeks. Something wasn't right. And he looks up at the sun coming down. He goes, they are moving in daylight. That is... You had said that, didn't you, Arrow 4?
Yes, they chased the Shire here.
And then Varen speaks up and he says, well, what do you think they meant? That she was important to the Master. To kill the others, but to bring her back alive.
We have only guesses right now.
And Varen would look at you and he'd say, did you try to hide your reaction, Arrow 4, when they talked about the woman and described her?
He would have tried, but probably not very successfully. He's not exactly in an insanely powerful emotional state right now. It would be tough for him to try anyways.
So Varen probably would have seen that. Probably not Redwald, because he was kind of just looking off, thinking. Varen would say to you, he'd say, Arafor, when you heard who they were after, I saw your face. It looked as if though you knew who they might be speaking of. You don't... And he starts, and he doesn't finish it because he knows, he sees the look on your face.
We have only guesses.
Who do you think it is?
Women could be interestingly.
And then Arnkel chimes in and says, I bet he thinks it's the woman, Moira. And he kind of, and you could just, the sourness of his response is just palatable. He says, you know, the ones he was to protect. And you could jump in at any time, Era 4, as these rangers are chatting. Redwald kind of just is shaking his head. He's looking down at this path and he says, I know that deer trail. It runs parallel with our camp, but it won't bring them anywhere near it. Orcs are a stupid lot. They won't find it.
It's not worth the risk. We should go back.
Arnkel sneers and he says, yeah, but Redwald, did you not forget? Did you not tell Tompkin to start taking the woman and the halfling south? They won't be in the camp.
There when that was decided?
No, you're just...
Yeah, he's just like...
You are hearing it now for the first time. It was never mentioned to you when you were approached and told to come with them on this scouting mission.
It was like ghost at that. What?
I thought it the safer decision, Redwald says. Tompkin could bring them south, and I thought it'd be nothing for you to catch them up later. Better we had your bow with us now. Tompkin, he's still young. Not as skilled an archer as I've heard you are, or I remember you being.
Yes, and you left him with 2 other people. It leaves 1 fighter in Moira, barely a ranger and a hobbit. If those or any other orcs find them, they're dead. Why didn't you tell me? I would never have gone. Ugh, I guess that's it, isn't it? You told me I wouldn't have gone.
Give me an insight.
18 on the die for mod 20.
Yeah. He's shaking his head no, but his eyes tell the truth. He kept that information from you because of this fear that you would tell him no. You know that he has no authority to force you to go with him. So he left that information out.
I'm going back.
Varen grabs you. He says, "You can't go back, fool. You'll be killed."
So what? Here, Arnkill is talking about how we need to fight these orcs to protect this woman, and now I go back to protect my friends, and you tell me no.
And you can see the pain on Varen's face. He understands your decision. He just probably does not want to see one of his brothers die, and what he would probably see is maybe just suicide. And then Theodulf, who's been fairly quiet up until now, says, "Well, Tompkin's a good tracker. Knows his way in the woods. You know what he lacks in skill with sword and bow, he more than makes up for. And maybe he'd get them further enough south. I mean," and he looks up through the tree cap, and he says, "It is daylight. I imagine the orcs will move slower."
That means if we move now, we can beat them.
Redwall nods his head in agreement. He says, "Then that's what we do." And we will shift scene with you guys now dogging these orcs. You guys start to move along quietly along the forest, following these orcs. That's what you wanted to do, yeah? Or you want to? Oh, you actually want to beat them back, right?
Yeah. So Arafor's goal would be to if their paths are basically parallel, to basically try to race them more or less. So Arafor's plan is if we can get the Rangers to meet back up with the party and Tonkin,
Yeah, you would have
then
numbers.
we have a much better number situation, and we could
Perfect.
either scare them off or get away or beat them in a fight.
Perfect.
So Arafor would like to try to meet up with the team.
Give me 2 stealth rolls. Just put them in the chat, and I'm going to we're going to shift as we Lily. You wake up. The ground is cold beneath you. You feel the coolness of the air. Not a bitter cold of winter, but that late spring cold. It's refreshing. It smells of renewal and rebirth to you. You can smell the earth. You can smell a cooking fire outside of your tent. You can smell sausages cooking on the fire. You can hear them kind of crackling and popping the fat in a pan. And you hear someone humming happily.
Lily enjoys the smell of the cooking sausages for a moment, and then she rolls out of her borrowed blanket because she's lost pretty much everything when Dusty went down. For a moment, she's sad for her pony, but her practicality kind of asserts itself. That and the smell of food. And She tugs on her armor pretty quickly because she doesn't have much else to wear except the armor and what goes on under it. And goes out to see what's up for breakfast.
Yeah. So as you're getting dressed, you look over and on a nearby bedroll, you can see the sleeping form of Moira, who had at some point in the night returned to the tent and fallen asleep. You see that she's just gently sleeping. And you step outside of the tent and you see the red-haired ranger, Tompkin. He's kind of bent over, and you see him just kind of taking like a small knife, and he's just rolling over sausages in a small pan. As you come out of the tent, he looks up and smiles at you. His youthful exuberance on his face just seems to glow, and he says, "Ah, little halfling's up. We're cooking sausages."
Oh, I can smell it. They smell wonderful. Lily smiles back at him.
Well,
I think Moira's finally sleeping.
He looks back past you at the tent, and his bright mood kind of darkens a bit, and he says, "Oi, that one, she was close to the man, huh?"
Yes, they were close. Oh.
Kind of just shakes his head a little bit, and he kind of points over to a log that is kind of functions as a seat around this small cook fire. "Well, have a seat. Yeah, it was late in the evening when I saw her retire to the tent. It's glad though. She needs her rest."
Yes, it's probably the best thing for her at this point to get some rest, so she can cope. It's been really hard on her. The man that she loved got killed right in front of her, and she almost got killed too. I was barely able to save her. As she sits on the log and her little feet dangle because it's just a bit too tall.
Yeah. He stands up for a second, and he starts to walk over to you. Then he realizes, he goes, "Oh," and he goes over to a small table and he retrieves a couple of tin plates, and he puts some sausages on the plate, and you see that he's cooked up some greens as well, and he puts a portion of those onto your plate and he hands it to you.
Lily takes them pretty eagerly and looks at the greens. She goes, "Oh yes, those are very, very healthy. That's a good thing to add. Are your rangers trained in nutrition too?" As she starts to eat with her mouth, talking with her mouth full.
He smiles and he says, "Well, really trained to eat what's ever edible along the path," but he kind of leans in close, and actually doesn't lean in close. He sits down next to you. He sets the remaining sausages that are still in the pan on a stone near the fire, so they'll stay warm. And he says, "Really, it was my mom. She taught me how to cook. Fried my father, it did. Said that was no boy's work. That was woman's work." And he kind of chuckles a bit.
Lily, with her mouth full, kind of looks at him through her sausage. Says, "Oh, in the hobbits, we all cook."
He kind of laughs and he says, yeah, I've heard that. You're the first hobbit I've ever seen, though."
We don't get out much.
Yeah. He
We're
says,
pretty happy at home generally.
"Yeah, my duties haven't seen me in the Shire."
She nods, taking another bite, and her eyes get rather sad. It's a beautiful place.
And as you're kind of looking around, it's peaceful here. It's the first real peace you've had since you had left the ranger cottage. It seems like so long ago, but it was really just a few days ago. The sun, it looks, by your best guess, the sun looks like it's going to be a nice sunny day, warm day. The sun is, I keep saying this, I keep starting this. Let me finish it. but the sun is just over the tops of the distant trees, and it's starting, much like I had described earlier. It's kind of cutting down in rays through the canopy of trees, but you can feel it starting to warm this this encampment. Yeah, guys, don't even bother writing in the chat because I have to get so close to my monitor and squint. Just if you're listening to this, I don't have my glasses, so we're playing. I'm literally running this game blind.
So what happens when your DM's blindfolded, right?
Right. So yeah, it's probably it's still early morning, probably around 8-ish, and that's probably about the time that you would stir from your bedroll, Moira. You can hear the soft conversation of Lily and a man, and you can hear every once in a while you hear light laughter, and you also you smell the sausages and greens.
Moira hears the hum of conversation, the back and forth, Lily's higher voice, Tompkins' lower one. She just lies there for a moment with her eyes closed, not wanting to face morning, to face the day, to face the guilt. Her traitorous stomach rumbles, and slowly she gets up, pokes her head out of the tent, blonde curls a wild mess. And she looks to Lily and kind of bites her lip and just nods a little.
Tompkins smiles at you, seated beside the small halfling, or hobbit, sorry. And he says, "Lady Moira, you're up. I've cooked sausages and greens. It's not much, but it's warm."
And Lily turns to Moira. Moira, you're up. And she's a little guarded, but hopeful. Maybe that Moira's feeling a little better. His sausages and greens are actually very good.
Thank you. Oh, that smells nice, I suppose. She just kind of looks away, not sure what to say. But there's no malice.
As you find a place to sit, Moira, Tompkin jumps up and gets you a plate and divvies out some sausages and greens onto the plate for you. And I guess I never said a fork, but he hands you a two-tined fork like he did with Lily. Seeing that you lack, well, actually, you guys have knives, right? So you guys would use your knives to eat. And so he hands you the plate and he smiles at you. You can see that it's just like it's like an awkward moment. Like he wants to say something, but he knows that he lacks the words that would. So he just chooses just to smile at you and sits back down. You guys both would notice as you're eating that the camp is very quiet. You didn't notice it at first, Lily. And Moira, a trained warrior that you are, you probably notice it much quicker, probably before you even take your first bite. There's no one else in this camp. You see the horses stabled off in a corner, but you see no other sign of the Rangers, and you see no sign of Arafor.
Moira's taking the plate from Tompkin, and her mind registers that there's no one else, and her eyes narrow a little. Where is everybody? Where's Arafor?
Lily just kind of looks up in surprise.
And that's when That's when
Yeah.
you noticed, Lily, that like, yeah, you hadn't noticed it before. You probably thought maybe folks were sleeping, but Moira noticed the
Right.
Rangers aren't sleeping. They're not here.
But they aren't here, are they?
Tompkin has a mouthful of sausage and green, and he talks around them. Went left really early this morning. Airflow went with him. He swallows. He said, Redwald, he's set him to stay with you, to take you south.
South? Moira, that's not towards the barrows, is it?
He nods his head. He says, yes, we'll catch the east-west road there. It's the quickest way.
And Airflow will meet us?
He kind of scratches his head a bit. He looks down at his plate. He goes, I think that's the plan.
You think?
Well, Redwall didn't tell me everything. He just said that I was to get you safely down there.
Lily looks at Moira, and the ranger, and she's kind of like, is that really enough for us to go safely anywhere? Because she's remembering what they went through getting there and how dangerous the roads are, and she's thinking 3 people is not exactly a large, safe party. She's had the scare of her life not long ago.
Yeah, why don't you, I mean, how obvious would it be, that internal dialogue you're having with yourself, Lily? Is it something that Tompkin and Moira would be able to pick up on, or is it something that she would try to kind of just mask?
I think the questions in her eyes might be pretty obvious. I don't know about. I think Moira particularly would be able to notice.
Yeah,
she's pretty observant. I don't know about the boy.
Yeah, with your permission, Tompkin's gonna look. He's gonna look over at you, and he's gonna say, "Don't worry, little hobbit. I'm quite a skilled tracker, and I know these woods fairly well. I can get you safely down there." And he goes, "And actually, our fewer numbers might help. It's a lot easier to hide 3."
Easier still to hide 1. Lily.
Yes?
You should go home.
No, I can't go home. Everything will remind me of Dirk.
Tompkin's nodding with what you said, Moria.
It won't be safe. Tompkin could get you home.
It's not safe at home, Moira. They came and killed my best friend in front of me, right there in the Shire. Nothing is safe. I want to
better
be
than out
useful.
here.
I can't help anyone there. Here I might be of some use. I've practiced my healing.
You should listen to her, little hobbit. This is no place for your kind.
She starts to get just a little bit. Oh, you can just see her sort of stiffen up because nobody patronizes Lily for much. She's like, no, I know my path. I'm going with you. Moira, I'm going with you. And
Tompkin finishes his last bite of sausage. Kind of runs his tongue across his teeth to get a piece out. He says, well, you're both coming with me. Redwald was really clear. I'm to bring both of you south, and I'm to leave as soon as we can. He says, it's not safe up here. Not safe for either of you.
Well, it's none too safe on the road. But I will go where Moira goes.
And I am going south.
Then I will go too. Hobbits go pretty quietly through the woods. I have some experience. But, Tompkin, is there any chance you have a small bow? Mine seems to have been lost when my pony was killed.
He shakes his head. He goes, the bows we use, little hobbit, are twice your size.
Lily sighs. She was hoping maybe somewhere there would be a short bow.
Yeah.
Have you a sling? Or
Well,
even a piece of leather that I might fashion into a sling.
yeah, Tompkin would smile at that. He says, "You're thinking just what I was thinking. Easy enough to fashion one. I used to kill squirrels back when I was a boy with a sling."
So did I, but I was never a boy.
He laughs at that. He says, "Well, Lady Moira, finish your meal, and I'll start packing. We're going to be away as soon as we can."
All right, but Tompkin, you
Yes.
must stop calling me lady. I told you that yesterday.
And he kind of his freckled cheeks blush, and he's like, "I'm sorry, Moira. I'm sorry." And he ducks his head and turns on his heel to go about packing up the gear that you'll need for the journey, leaving the two of you sitting around this small campfire.
And Lily gets a piece of leather and starts working on making a sling with her knife.
Okay.
How are you today, Marmara? She kind of doesn't even look up from her work. She just kind of floats the question out there.
Moira just kind of watches Lily for a moment, thinking carefully. Perhaps better than yesterday. And you?
I know it's hard. I lost my best friend. And I cared for Ordroth too. Lily gets a little sad. Just kind of straightens herself up again and goes back to her work.
I'm still angry at you.
I don't know why. I did all that I could.
For what you said. I know you did what you could.
I'm afraid I was a little angry at you.
Well, perhaps what you lack in some ways you make up for in your stubbornness.
Lily kind of smiles for a second. I am sorry. I was upset too.
It will be dangerous, you know.
I know. But it was dangerous, like I said, even at home in the Shire. It doesn't matter. I want to keep the evil as far from the Shire as I can. I have a large family. I have friends.
You are good, Lily. And I'm glad that we are traveling together. Perhaps you'll be a good influence on me.
Lily is getting a little emotional at all this, and she's like, "Thank you. Thank you." I
Well,
see that. Okay.
I'm ready if you guys, just as you're saying that, Lily, that's when Tompkin kind of walks up and he's leading two horses. You see that each of the horses has saddlebags thrown across behind the saddle. And he says, "I figured the Hobbit can ride with me. Or with you, Moira, if that's what you'd prefer." And then his cheeks kind of blush a little bit as he realizes he has interrupted you. "Oh, beg your pardon, Lily. Beg your pardon."
Oh, it's all right. Lily's almost glad to have an interruption at this point. What do you think, Moira? Should I ride with you? Or him?
Isabel is certainly capable of carrying both of us. And quite swift.
Lily kind of smiles because Isfael is such a beautiful horse. I've never been on anything but a pony before. Your horse is lovely.
She's a little spirited, but she's good.
Hopefully she's tolerant of halflings.
She tolerates who I tell her to.
Ah. Yes,
So
Lily's
with-
kind of excited about riding on this horse.
With that, Tompkin throws a small bucket of water across the cook fire. Takes a boot and just kind of pushes around the ash to make sure the water mixes in. Not that there's much fear of it catching anything afire, but safety first. And he mounts up on his horse. It's just a brown mare. And you see he's got his bow, a broadsword, and he's got the armor similar to what you would see Arafor wearing. His hood is down. Well, no time like the present. I know a couple of deer trails. Take us right there south. Be quicker that way. And
Lionel,
yep.
real quick before we go on, would you say that she had time to make a pouch and gather some stones?
Oh yeah. That's why I was figuring this. That's perfectly
Okay.
fine. So you guys mount up and we kind of fade to black as you guys start riding out of this ranger camp, following the ranger Tompkin and Arafor. You guys are with haste making your way back to this camp, and it's late in the morning before you guys arrive. You hear nothing. You don't smell anything. And as you guys enter the camp, you can just see the remainder of the horses that are hobbled. They've been fed, which presumably you would assume by Tompkin. But you see no sign of your companions.
Yeah, Arafor kind of paces around the different points of the camp nervously, and then once he fully determines that there's nobody here, either in open or in hiding, he's just going to go back towards the group of rangers and just say, "We have to follow them. We have to catch up. They get ambushed on the road for."
Redwald nods. He's like, I was afraid of this. Afraid we wouldn't make it back in time. Damn that Tompkin for being efficient. Following orders so well.
He just did what you told him to. Arafor says with like a mixture of with a heavy mixture of like spite in there.
Yeah. If he picks up on it, he doesn't give sign. All right. Grab what gear you think we'll need. And travel light.
Of course.
So you guys gather some gear and then you head out. And give me another survival check. And you will have advantage because it's not just you, Arafor. The other rangers are looking for sign of which way Tompkin took Moira and Lily.
Yeah, Tompkin is a good tracker, but Arafor is no slouch. It's 60 for a mod 20.
Perfect. Yeah, you spend a few minutes, you and a couple of the other rangers looking, and you're the first to see it. You can see where the earth has been upturned by the hooves of what you know very distinctly are Israel. Am I saying that right?
Isfael.
Isfael, Moira's horse. its markings from its shoes are much different than those of the lighter ranger horses. And you see, and then your heart sinks as you see that he's led them down onto a deer trail.
Yeah, with that, Arafor will spin around, say, "Here, I found the trail. We have to move quickly. Now!"
Yeah. So you guys quickly set off after them. And you're making good time. You're kind of searching the ground. The earth is soft, so and still kind of because of its sheltered nature, it's still holding some of the dew, and you come to a point where the deer trail kind of splits into two. Give me another survival roll.
19 total.
This is one you probably wanted to fail, Era 4. You see the trail that they've taken, and you point it out, and then as you start to move, you look and you see something else. The clear track of a shod boot. And as you push some of the thistle aside, you see other tracks. And as you kind of, I just imagine you kind of quickly move along the trail, maybe 5, 10, 12 feet, and your eyes are just quickly scanning and you're looking and you see more signs of the orcs that have passed down this way. What you can't tell, however, is are they behind the ranger, Moira, and Lily, or are they ahead of them?
And with that, Arafor is going to turn back to the other rangers, trying to mask the panic on his face and in his voice. "The orcs are already past. We have to move quickly."
Yeah. Theodulf, who's the other tracker, experienced tracker in the group, which is saying quite a bit because all rangers are fairly good trackers. He nods as he agrees with you. So, and you guys set off. And it's not long after that you hear the guttural sounds of orcs. Probably about a mile further along this deer trail. And as you go around this bend, you can see the lagging orc. Doesn't seem to have heard your guys' approach. Guys, probably about 60, 80 feet further up this trail. And it's kind of like this slight slope up a hill. What do you guys want to do?
Arafor is going to turn back to the other rangers. They continue on. They're sure to catch them. Help. I say we follow them. Once they take sight and ready themselves for an ambush, we counter ambush. Create a pincer between us following up and the other two ahead. We can catch them all at once. They won't know what hit them.
Redwald will kind of weighs your words and he says, "It seems a sound strategy. We would almost have the numbers. We'd probably catch them unawares. It's a good plan. And he kind of claps you on the shoulder and he smiles at you and he says, "You're a good man, Arafor. Good man." And he walks past you, and you guys continue to kind of, I imagine you're going to shadow these orcs.
Yeah, so basically, Arafor's plan here is to shadow the orcs, and once the orcs catch up to the other three, and like prepare to ambush, Arafor would like him and the other rangers to basically like counter ambush from behind them.
Yep.
Everybody involved in the fight.
So this is what I'm going to have you do. And this is different. I've never done this before. I'm going to have you roll 2 d20s, and you're going to take the average. And that's going to be your party stealth.
You want me to add my stealth to those or just flat?
Yes. Add your stealth and then average it. Yep. Well, actually, you know what you should do? You should average the roll and then add your stealth score to it. That's probably mathematically the better thing to do.
That makes sense. Here we go. Going to be the 14. Including the stealth. So average 10.
Yeah,
plus
I was just rolling an opposed roll, and the die kind of got away from me, so apologize for that. Yeah, so you're following them for probably just shy of an hour, and then they stop, and it's probably around midday, and they're stopping, and they're kind of again going on with their guttural language, and it just sounds dirty, and sour to your ears, Arafor, even though you can't understand them. How close do you all want to get as you're following them?
Good question. Definitely within range of bow shot.
Yeah, and you use great bow, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and just so you know, you guys are, I mean, even though you're on this this deer path, you guys are in a forest, so it's not like an open field, so you would suffer certain things if anything went off of the deer path. Like I would say on a deer path, you have a straight shot, line of sight. But if anything should step off, that's when you're going to start having struggles with concealment and cover. But yeah, you can see where they're all kind of just sitting along, and there's no like order to these orcs. You know, they're just kind of in their guttural language, talking amongst each other, and they're eating something that probably you don't want to know what they're eating. And
I'm gonna say probably like about 75 feet.
Okay.
If we can trail that close.
Perfect.
Without being spotted.
Yeah. And as you guys are kind of like hunkered down from a vantage point watching these orcs, they finish their meal. They pass a couple of these wineskins around, and you see them, or water skins around, and they're drinking from it. And then they get up and they start to again move along this trail, and they're not even long into continuing their journey when the orc at the end kind of stops. And you hear it say something to the orc in front of it. "Utokak." And that one stops. And you see them both starting to sniff. And you see their heads slowly turn back in the direction toward you and the other rangers.
Yeah, I imagine Arafor has already strung his bow at this point once we got within range. But he's going to like wait and see if he can like slip off to the side. He doesn't want to engage unless he's sure that they know that they're right there. Signs that they've absolutely seen us, then he's gonna attack.
Yeah, you hear and feel the warmth of Varen's breath close to your ear. "They have smelt us," We have found. And you see that he has his bow and an arrow out as ready. And it seems just as he says that, one of the two orcs at the end puts up one of its hands and points out. You don't know which one of you is seen, but one of you is seen by the orc. And he yells an alarm. We're going to roll initiative.
Alrighty, yeah. And if Air Force is just going to immediately shoot once.
Yeah, you could definitely get a shot off at one of these two orcs. The others are a little bit further because they kept walking till they heard the alarm.
Whew, not 20.
Nice. That's a good one to get.
That's a
And just so you guys know, so for the most part, all of the NPCs that you'll fight are just going to go on a straight 10 initiative. But there may be occasionally like a named boss type that I might put in its own initiative. But these are all going to go on to 10. So you have the initiative.
Alrighty, and that's actually going to be with the crit 12 damage all up.
Perfect. Yeah. So the first one, the one at the tail end, this arrow sinks deeply into its chest. It kind of looks down. You see it kind of look down at it. Its spear that it was holding in its hand, it kind of drops to the ground as it starts to claw at this arrow protruding from its chest. And the other one just bellows. And as you popped up to fire, he sees you and he yells something in Orcish that you don't understand. And then starts to charge towards you as he draws his sword and starts slinging his shield. And you see the other one the other 8 starting to go towards you. Perfect. And you also hear a volley of arrows. So if you want to just give me 3 attack rolls for the other rangers.
Specific mod or just flat rolls?
They would be +5.
Oh, man, these dice are hot tonight.
Nice.
It's going to be 23, 24, and 16.
Okay. It's then Era 4 that you realize this is not the same party you tracked. This is a party. There's actually 20 orcs running towards you down this path. No, I'm just kidding. Well, your dice are hot, so I figured you'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I gotta get a couple more in there.
Yeah, perfect. Anyways, so yeah, you get a couple more shots. So I'm gonna say that the orc that you struck, Varen's arrow follows in almost as quickly, and you just see it kind of just drop to its knees and then fall off to the side. The other orcs behind it are just stepping over it, and don't even give him a second glance. And you said how many hit though?
So the lowest of the attacks was a 16. So it was a 16, a 23, and a 24. So I don't know how many of those.
Yeah. So give me. You might have to be down to 8 after this first volley. So give me some damage on the next one.
Alrighty. And are they both? Are these rangers? Sorry, is this still for the rangers or is this for me again at the top?
For the rangers, yeah.
Okay. Are they using great bows?
Yes, they're using the same type of bow as you. Yeah.
Alrighty. It's going to be between the 3 of those, assuming all 3 of those hit. That's going to be 13 damage.
Perfect. Yeah. So you see that other one. It kind of squeals as these 3 arrows just pierce. One in its chest, one in its shoulder, and one in its thigh. And it slows it down, and the other orcs behind it just shove it out of the way. As they close on you with almost a frenzied speed. You were 75 feet away. You see them just kind of burst with speed, and they just come tearing down this trail and close the distance on you and are engaged with you and the other rangers. And with that, we're going to shift camera to Tomkin and Moira and Lily. You're riding along quietly on this trail. You've been doing so for quite a while. Tomkin was not wanting to stop to take any sort of second breakfast or anything like that, but he does toss you an apple and hand you a water skin, and you guys are able to just kind of have a quick little respite snack as you ride along. ducking under the lower branches on this deer trail. And just past noon, you guys come out of the heavier part of the wood. In the distance, give me guys perception roll. See what you guys see in the distance. You smell it first, Lily. You smell burning wood. You smell it first. It's kind of carried on the light breeze of the early afternoon. And then you see the flames. I mean, not the flames, the smoke rising up in the distance above the tree line. And Tompkin looks back at the two of you and he says, "It's not good. We should go around that."
What do you think it is? Lily whispers to him.
He looks back towards the rising dark plumes of smoke. He turns back to you guys. "Well, if I had to guess, it's a farm."
Lily's torn, but she knows if there's enough raiders out here of any sort to take down a farm, there's nothing that she can do to help. To help, really. She can't fight them all. But yeah, it's hard for her. She even forgets she didn't get second breakfast.
And you're not even going to go and see?
But Moira, if we get caught by a whole raiding party, we want to be finishing our quest.
Yeah. And you would see the confliction on Tompkin's face, Moira. "Redwald says I have to get you safely to the road." Well,
Could we sneak up and look, maybe?
maybe we could ride close, stay along the tree line. And he kind of pauses. He says, "But if there's any sign of trouble, you better run fast."
There's nothing much faster than Isvale.
That's true.
She pats the horse.
No, Tompkin. No, you're right.
So, so he indicates that you guys, so you ride a little bit further along, and then he indicates that you all should dismount and lead your horses. And he leads you through a thicket of trees, and then the trees get much thinner. The smell of the burning farm becomes much more heavy in the air. And as you get to the tree line, you can see farmers' fields are ablaze. You can see where livestock has been slain in a nearby field, and you can see this small kind of squat single-story building and a larger barn just fully ablaze. You don't see any movement, but if you'd like to look further, give me a perception roll, guys. Nice. Yeah, your eyes are keen, Moira, as you search and you look. And you see that looks like a small form kind of staggering between the building the house, the cottage, and the barn. They're back to you. Looks like a child. It's hard to say because there's wisps of this smoke just from the nearby burning field keeps every once in a while. The breeze isn't really strong, but it's just strong enough that every once in a while it blows the smoke across. But it definitely looks like they're staggering or something. And you can definitely see like a head full of like brunette hair.
Moira sees the figure and seeing really no other movement. She just kind of makes eye contact with Tompkin and says, "Stay." And she swings up onto Isfel and she's going to ride out of the tree line and down to the farm.
All right. He's not going to let you do that. He's going to try to stop you when you say that. And he sees what you start to move away. He's just going to try to grab at you. So let's just do an opposed. I mean, he's not going to try to like tackle you or hurt you or anything, but he's just going to try to grab you. So we'll do an opposed. You can use athletics or acrobatics. He's got a 14.
No, he makes a grab for me, but with a 21, I just pull away and I'm too fast for him.
Which is better? Are you more acrobatic or more athletic?
Athletic.
Yeah. So he actually gets you, but he's maybe surprised at your strength as you just pull yourself free of him. And before he knows it, you're astride Israel and you're riding across this field towards the house. What are you doing, Lily?
Well, as she sees this scuffle, Lily sees her chance, and she just disappears into the woods there as she starts to stealth after her.
Yeah.
And
you just
the roll comes
you
to
just hear
22.
Tompkin yell, "God, bloody damn!" And you see him getting up into his own saddle to follow after her. And he looks down at you and he says, "Stay here, Hobbit."
And of course, he can't see, but she's already stealthing after.
You're like tucked under the horse's tail as he's riding.
Well, there's plenty of tall grass.
With that stealth roll. Just
up,
so you know, Lily, you're quite a distance. It's probably about good 250 feet from here to the cottage. So if you're stealthing,
she wouldn't have to stealth the whole way, but
yeah, if you're stealthing, you're moving at half your speed. That's just want you to know.
I would think that she would get somewhat closer, and then she would start the stealth thing. If that makes sense. Because they're riding off. They can't stop her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she's gonna actually dash.
You're running across this field?
Yeah, she's going to dash after them until she feels she's close enough that she'd better hide.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I'll take advantage of that stealth roll.
You'll be probably lagging a little bit behind Tompkin and obviously Moira, who just bolted off.
Yeah, I'll be a couple turns anyway.
Yeah, perfect. Excellent. And we quickly move back to the forest and the deer trail. And these orcs, these 8 remaining orcs have, there's a 9th one, but he's pretty heavily wounded by the first barrage of ranger arrows. And you hear your fellow rangers, you hear steel on leather as their swords come free to meet the onslaught of these orcs. You can act first, Era 4. 2 of these orcs seem to have decided that they're going to end you. One carrying a spear and the other a curved sword.
All right, you said that they made it close enough to be within melee to me.
Yeah, they have a special ability in Middle Earth that they can not only can they dash, but they can bonus action and take another movement to get closer to an enemy. So they can go full on 90 feet in one round. So yeah, they've closed the distance on y'all.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. I didn't think that you were challenging it at all. I was just they're definitely in melee with you.
Alrighty, with that, Era 4's sword will join the chorus of blades of the other rangers shing, as it comes out of his scabbard.
Mm-hmm.
He slings his shield off of his back, dropping his bow for the time being.
Yeah.
As he brings the shield up onto his arm. He's going to charge at the closest one, the one with the spear, and try to hack it into pieces with a 22 overall to hit.
Yeah. Just for speed of combat, feel free to when we were fighting a combat, feel free to pre-roll and roll your damage too if you want. The AC to hit, again, just to speed up combat, is 13. So anything 13 or higher is a hit. So yeah, that is definitely a hit.
Perfect.
So it takes a lunge at you with its spear, but you kind of bat it quickly aside, and that opens it up to you.
Just the shield. He bashes like the shield against the haft of the spear as he goes in with a thrust for 9 damage.
Oh yeah.
Staying straight in its side.
You very nearly bloody this orc as you drive your blade into it. He kind of staggers back. You see the black, slick blood of the orc. Well, it's kind of a greenish black as it just runs down your blade and down along the orc and onto the leaves on the ground. Perfect. Are you doing anything else?
Nope. With that, he'll just pull the blade out and bring his shield up and
perfect.
try his best to defend.
All right. So the other rangers, we're not going to fight for them. That's just happening in the background. So this orc that you almost bloodied in one strike pulls his spear back and tries to drive it into you. And your armor class is higher than
16 with the shield.
Yeah, it just bounces off of your shield. The other orc coming in tries to take advantage of you blocking the spear and misses. As you block that, you parry that aside with your sword. It'll be your turn again, Arafor.
Perfect. The 13 damage then on the same orc.
Yeah.
As he takes advantage of the miss.
Describe how you finish him. You finish the job.
Yeah, so it charges at him with the spear. The shield to glance it off to his left. As he does so, he bobs to the right, kind of giving it a little bit of distance to swing his sword. As he just like straight up across, just cutting this thing's gut right through down the center. As this orc just spills open.
Nice. Not to put any pressure on you, Arafor, but how well you do in this combat is going to determine how well your ranger allies do. But you hear the sounds of fighting, the clashing of steel on steel, steel on wood, and you hear the grunts and screams of the combat happening around you. And we move to Moira. Moira, you thunder up on Israel into this burning hellscape of this farmstead. You see dead livestock, a dog, several chickens, just laying where they were slain by what you would assume is orc. You see the telltale signs of orc arrow sticking in the buildings and in some of this livestock. You also see the form with several arrows protruding from his back of what you would guess is either the farmer or one of his hands in the middle of this farmyard. You don't see the child. Give me another roll. Perception roll. Yeah. You don't see the child, but you hear crying. It sounds like it's coming from behind the barn.
Moira, the wind just blowing her hair back, has paused to listen. And locating the sound, she swings Isfel around and goes at a canter around the barn, intending to just scoop the child up and head back to the safety of the trees.
Yeah. Your heart freezes in your chest, Moira, as you start to canter around this barn. You look and you see the two hunched forms of goblins, and you see the harried form of a wolf, a warg, and you see just in front of this warg is a small blonde brunette child. She seems to be crying, her hands pressed up to her face. She's wearing like this linen nightgown, and you see that it's all soiled. And the goblins don't look like they have seen you. and the warg is just growling at this child, and they seem to be having some fun with her, poking at her with spears, not to kill her, but just to torment her.
I would like to charge.
Perfect. You may do so. I will give so give me an initiative roll. And but your charge will not be in the initiative because they don't know you're there.
I'm just going to use my inspiration on that charge because that was terrible. Okay. Initiative is 4.
A 4? Okay.
Yeah, a 4 for initiative. But the charge will hit.
Mm-hmm.
I was going for the warg.
Okay, so you thunder right past these 2 goblins because they're on the other side. So it's 2 goblins, then it would be the little girl, then it would be the warg. But yeah, you can go right for the warg. It sees you. It kind of looks up, but it's too late as you get in there. The AC for the warg is 14.
Okay, yeah, I rolled like a 16. I was assuming that hit.
Yeah.
Okay. So she thunders up and she has her sword. She's pulled it out of the scabbard that's been gently thumping against Isfil's withers, and she pulls it up and she's got it in 2 hands, and she just comes plowing at this warg for 14 damage.
That is lovely. I want to give you an option because
Okay.
Moira would know this. You would be able to make a one swing at one of these goblins as you ride past, and then use your horse, because your horse is combat trained, to literally charge and it would slam. I'll let you keep that roll for your horse. It would be 2d6 damage to the warg, and it has to make a save or be knocked prone by your horse.
Oh yeah, I will do that.
Okay. So how much damage was it to the warg?
So if it's going to be 2d6,
Yeah.
4.
4? Okay.
Yeah.
But it's plus 4, so it's 8. All right, perfect. And it's going to make a save or be knocked prone. And it is knocked prone, so you're going to do an additional, you get an initial attack on this warg. Now you can either use your horse to do it, to trample it, or you could swing down with your sword. But give me the attack roll and damage on the goblin that you ride past, the ride by.
So the ride by for the goblin, that's only a 13.
A 13 is what you need.
Okay.
It's only wearing this light leathers.
And then that's going to be 14 damage.
Yeah. So let us describe your charge as you kill this goblin, one of these goblins that's kind of tormenting this kid with a spear, and then you pummel and knock down this warg, and then you can give me that other attack and damage if you would like to.
So Moira is rounding the corner, and she sees the first little green dark-skinned goblin, and the child's cry it hurts her heart, and she comes in, and there's no sound. Part of her wants to yell, but the prudent part of her knows there might be more about, and there's just this sickening as she cuts off the goblin's head.
Yes.
And then charges the warg for 8 damage again.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, you bloody this warg in this assault, and you can hear Tompkin behind you yelling, "Moira!" and he draws his sword as he kind of thundering up on his own horse, but he won't make it there, not this round anyways. As the goblin running up behind you tries to drive its spear into your back. Probably not going to hit. Let's see. 16.
Hit.
It hits. Okay. Yeah. So you take 4 points of piercing damage as it drives its spear, and it's like it hits you at the upper part of your thigh and pierces your armor. Not deeply, but enough to draw blood from you. And then the warg gets up, kind of pushes itself back up onto its paws, and it attacks your horse and misses. So your horse is able to just stomp its hooves and keep it at bay. And you may now attack again.
So Isfel is rearing up and mostly avoiding the hits from the warg, the bites. But Moira turns around and strikes at the goblin behind her, feeling the spear cut into her. That's going to be 13 damage.
Yeah. You end that goblin too. Your sword just cleaves right through its spear shaft, taking off both of its arms just below the elbow and just above the elbow. It kind of reels back as this blackish blood just kind of sprays out from its arms, and you having mortally wounded it, and it kind of staggers back to die. With that, the warg is going to try to run away. So I'll give you an attack of opportunity against the warg.
No, she swings wide, but it's too fast.
Yeah. So it ducks under your sword, and it kind of runs off kind of askew to where Tompkin's running, and it runs off towards off to one of these fields. You probably sense that if this thing gets away, it'll probably warn whatever raiding party attacks this this farm. You hear Tompkin riding up. Lily, as you're running across this field, you're not exactly sure what happens. Moira kind of disappears from sight, lost behind this cottage. And all of a sudden you see Tompkin draw his sword and disappear from sight, yelling something, but it's a little can't quite make it out. I imagine you're going to dash.
I'm still pretty far out, aren't I?
Yeah. I imagine you're running your full speed across
Well, the
this
dash
field.
does you what, twice your speed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if
So
I'm
you go
still pretty far
50
out.
feet, you go 100 feet in 2 rounds.
Okay. And how far out do you think I was?
It's about 200 or so.
Well, then I'm going to dash for another round.
Yeah, so you're still running. So that's what you would see as you're just past the halfway point of running across this field. And
she might kind of ready her sling as she's running though, if she can.
Yeah.
Just drop a pebble in it so if she needs to, she can.
Perfect. So let's take a quick little break right there, and when we pick up, it'll be Arafor's turn.
All right.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks, guys. So let's be back in like 5.
All right.
So, Jeff, what did you think of me separating you guys right at the beginning of this session?
I mean, I think there's a part of me that doesn't think that Air4 would have done it.
Yeah, I had been
and I think
struggling.
depending on how Redwald would have pitched it, I guess it's possible.
Yeah.
But that definitely would have been a struggling point, I think, for him to like leave so soon after everything had happened.
Right. And that's why I had thought about letting you know ahead of time, but I wanted that impact feel. And that's why I wanted to make sure that Redwald was not honest with you about it, and that he had really made it seem like, oh, we're just going to go out and scout around a bit. Yeah, they'll be fine. We'll leave, we'll leave Tompkin here, blah, blah, blah.
I think
But he leaves out the part about telling Tompkin to send them, to take them south.
Yeah, and I think with that part, it makes it a little bit easier to like justify it. That in Air Force, it's like, oh, we're just gonna go out and do a little bit of scouting, and then we'll pop back in by sundown and catch back up and make sure everything's all good before we head out. But and then suddenly there's the bomb of like, oh nope, actually they're gonna be heading away. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah, typically I don't like to take away a player's ability to make those sorts of choices. And in full disclosure, when I had decided that what was going to happen, it was because we were supposed to actually play this session, I think, a few weeks ago, and you weren't available, Jeff. Yeah. And I'm like, how do I justify Arafor not being there, but yet still going forward with Lily and Moira? So that's when that idea came to me, and then I'm like, man, that's such a great idea. I'm still gonna roll with it. And so, anyways, that's where we're at right now. So we're all back, and Arafor. So you and the other Rangers are kind of fighting for your lives right now in the forest on this deer trail, and things seem to be going well for you and yours. Several of the orcs have already fallen. You see their will starting to waver, but the orc that's fighting you is just very brutally hacking at you with this curved sword, trying to get past your sword and shield. It is your turn.
Yeah, so just real quick, I have a feature that I've been forgetting to use, but because I picked the Hunter of Shadow archetype, I actually should be getting +2 damage against these guys. I haven't been adding that, but I will be adding it now. So if my damage is higher, that's why. Arafor just like goes up towards this goblin as he's trying to hack. He like smashes forward with his shield to kind of knock its arm away, bringing his sword upwards and then down towards this thing's collarbone. And it's gonna hit, and it's gonna do 14 damage.
Oh wow! Yeah, which side is that on?
That'd be my right side. So his left's collarbone.
Yeah. So its shield drops useless to its side as you just split and go several inches deep into its chest from this brutal blow, bloodying him. Nice. It'll make a vain attempt at driving its sword across your stomach. It will hit you with a 21. Not for 21 damage, though. Damage is 7 slashing, as it desperately lashes out at you with this sword. And we'll jump over to Moira. This warg is running off from you. Child is still crying. Seems to be confused by everything that's happening because it happened so quickly. Tompkin is riding up, thundering up on his own horse. And Lily, you're still sprinting across this field, oblivious to whether or not your friend is well or not. You just know that something is happening.
Right.
Oh, sorry. It was 7 slashing. Jeff.
As you can just see Lily's little legs just pumping as fast as they can go.
Yeah. And Moira, it's up to you. This warg is pulling away from you. It's running across this field. What are you going to do?
Moira shouts at Tompkin, "See to the child," and she's gonna take off after the warg. I'm assuming I can outpace it on
Yes.
Isfel.
Yeah. Yeah. The warg can run about 50. You can go 60 on your warhorse.
Is the warg running towards Lily or off to a side or what?
So I'm going to use it. I always love to use a clock because everyone can conceptualize like an analog clock. So if 12 o'clock would be the direction that you were running, Carol,
Okay.
the action is off to maybe about between 10 and 11 o'clock is where you saw Tompkin ride off.
Okay.
And now the warg is running off in that same sort of direction, 10 or 11 o'clock. So it's pulling away further away from you.
Okay.
Okay. So Moira, yeah, you start giving chase to this warg. And you see Tompkin already starting to swing a leg up over his saddle to get down off his horse and running up to the child. 14 will hit it.
Okay, so I've been forgetting. She's going into a battle fury as this thing takes off, and she remembers the one that killed Aradrith, and she refuses to let this one live. And so she's going to catch up to it and deal it 13 damage.
Oh, 13 damage? I think you kill it. You do kill it. You ride it down.
Yeah, so she comes up next to it, Isfel, coming up on its left side, and Moira leaning over to get a good cut, and just straight into the spine of this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you feel that separation of its bone as your sword cuts through it. It lets out one final as it tumbles and rolls across this field. Its blood just kind of smearing across what was once one of the farmer's crop. And as you look over your shoulder, you see that Tompkin is already kneeling down, trying to comfort this child. And you see the little form of Lily. Lily, you come running up, and you're just coming around the corner of the cottage. So you can see Moira off in the distance out on this field astride her horse. And I guess from that vantage point, you would not see Tompkin at this point. But we're not in combat anymore for you guys. And so you would be able to move up and probably see Tompkin with the child. But you would hear the child crying.
Right. She may even hear Tompkin trying to talk to it and realize that they're not fighting anything.
Right.
So she would just continue to move in, and because she wants to come up and see how the child is and see if she can help it, right. Of course.
So you start making your way toward Tompkin and the child. Moira, are you riding back towards Tompkin, looking around? What are you doing?
Yes, exactly that. So she makes a little bit of a loop around, kind of a wide circle around the edge of the clock. She's
Perfect.
coming.
Yep. Give me a perception roll.
Oh, that's a natural one.
Oh, no. Your eyes are burning. In the fervor of your attack, you had not blinked or turned away from your foe. And as such, some of the smoke from the burning barn and cottage has gotten into your eyes, making it water. As you try to look around, you don't see anything. You just see some of the grass or the wheat in this field kind of swaying, and your horse's ears are back, however, and she just kind of nervously wickers. Is that the right word? Wicker? Nicker?
Wicker is fine.
And whinny. And wicker.
Whinny.
Yeah.
Whinny. Thank you, guys. You're my horse experts. And we'll leave it at that as we return back to the action in the forest. Aerofor, it is now your turn again. You seem to have this orc dropping back, but it doesn't look like he's going to give ground. He's going to die. It's going to die here. And you're still not fully aware of how your companions are doing.
Yeah, and die at will, I'm gonna guess. So it's gonna already rolled 19 to hit, 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arafor's
So-
already like pierced his blade down like into this thing's collarbone. And I assume that, so you said that's gonna kill it, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah, so you
he
just-
doesn't even pull the sword out of its shoulder. He just like heaves his weight down into it, and just basically just brings the sword further down, going through into its neck, into this, like just digging down all the way through its chest.
Yeah. It just kind of claws at you, dropping its sword. It claws at you with its right hand, weakly, as this gore just kind of sprays out across your face and chest, and you kill it. You probably take a few heaving breaths as this orc dies at your feet. And as you look around, you see that you count the rangers around you. 1, 2, 3, 4. All rangers still on their feet. You see that a few of them have taken some injury. But overall, you have won this battle.
All right, and with that, Arafor is going to like, as he like steps down into this goblin's body to give enough force to pull the blade out with how far he pulled it in. Wipe it off on his cloak, but then begin scanning. There was that 9th goblin that fell but was not in the battle. Arafor is going to try to see if it's still around, trying to crawl away.
Perfect. Yeah. Give me a survival or perception roll, whichever one you'd like.
Yes, please. 19.
Yeah. Wow, you are on fire tonight. This is your mission, man. You now have your mission ahead of you. Good. Yeah, you easily find this bloodied trail left by this orc as it's dragging itself. It's already snapped off the arrows that had struck it, but it's dragging itself through the forest. And you come across it probably about 10 or 15 feet into the wood. And it turns when it sees you, and it kind of weakly starts to grab at a dagger.
Yeah, Arafor is just going to try to smash it across the head with his shield with the intention of knocking it unconscious.
Yeah. Just give me an attack roll. Don't bother rolling damage. But you have a advantage because it is considered prone. It's kind of laying on its back.
Thank God, because the first roll was but the second roll is an 11 on the die, which will put me at a 15.
Yeah, you with one swing of your shield, you knock the dagger wide, and then as you bring your shield back, you just bring the edge of it, crack this. You hear the crack of its skull as you knock it unconscious. It just goes limp in front of you.
Yeah, Arafor is going to drag it back towards the other rangers, and like toss it to them.
Yeah.
Make sure you question this one.
Yeah, and they meet.
And then almost without even without even necessarily waiting for a response, Arafor is gonna try something that he's never done before. He's heard of rangers doing it, but he's never done it himself. Onto the ground and like presses his ear towards the trail, almost as if like he was trying to listen to the earth itself. So let's say at level 3, so I can make a survival 18 or above. I can gain information about people that I'm tracking or a location that I'm trying to find.
Is there a
16
range
level to do that?
Is there a range on that?
I believe it's explicit, but I have it right here. Rumor of the earth. When you stretch yourself upon the ground with your ear pressed against the turf, you can decipher sounds of the earth. You can hear it groan, blah, blah, blah. Between each long rest, you can make a DC 15 survival check, which I have just done. On a success, the lore master must give you a useful piece of information about a quarry you're hunting or a place you're seeking.
Perfect.
You
So
get a 25 or higher. Information is near miraculous, but no limitations on or specifics.
all right. And you got a 16 total?
Like the regular level.
Perfect. Perfect.
And
So
obviously the people that I'm tracking is and Lily.
Oh, great. That was the question I was going to ask you. So you lay your head across the ground, and as you close your eyes, in your mind's eye, you see two horses. Upon the horses, you see one, a young ranger. The other, you see a young woman, and many might mistake as a child, but you know it to be a hobbit, riding by here. They look well, and you can tell that they've passed by this way probably within the last 2 hours.
With that, Arafor is going to turn back to the Rangers. Almost, he's surprised that this works. That he's well trained enough to use this ability. But he risks it. Heat of the moment. They've been here recently. Within just an hour or two, we can catch up to them.
Yeah. You see that they've just finished binding this orc, and Arnkel looks at you, and he's looking at you a little different now, Arafor. And he would just say, "It would seem your time in exile was not ill spent. Your skill with the sword has improved greatly from last time I've seen you." And you almost see, I wouldn't quite call it respect, Arafor. That would probably be too much for Ankel. But he's looking at you as if you're an equal now.
Yeah, and Arafor doesn't respond verbally. He'll just like nod towards Arnkel. And then turn and with basically just expecting the Rangers to follow at this point. We'll continue down the trail. Following where he's heard the sound of the hooves through the earth.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so they quickly fell a small sapling of a tree, and Ankel and Theodulf string the tree between the orc's feet and hands. He's been gagged, and they pick him up, trussed up style. And is that not what you were planning? Are you planning on taking this orc with you?
Yeah. So he doesn't want to like wait for it to come to here, since it might be a while before it wakes up. So his plan is to cover as much distance as he can towards Moira and Lily before that happens. But that is the intention, is to question it when it comes back.
So I would imagine what you guys would do, because you don't want to give up the speed, so you don't want any one or two Rangers getting tired and falling behind. So you guys take turns switching out, carrying this orc, which, orcs are not, this is a full grown, this isn't an orc that you would consider a goblin. It's much larger. So yeah, you guys go through that. So give me an athletics roll and a survival roll. And we'll, and you just put that in the chat. So Moira, you come around the corner of this barn and you see Tompkin holding the reins to his horse in his left hand. And his right hand is resting gently on the shoulder of this young child. You would probably guess her maybe 8 or 9 summers old. Her face is dirt and tear streaked. Her linen nightgown is just soiled. At one point, it was probably white. Now it's kind of a brownish black. And you see him trying to comfort her. And off in the distance, like I said, you had seen Moira.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that me coming around the corner?
Yes, that was
Oh,
you.
I'm sorry. I thought it was Moira for some reason.
Yeah, you said Moira at the beginning.
Oh, did I say Moira? I meant Lily. My bad.
Oh, okay. Well,
My bad.
okay. I'm glad I was confused for a reason and not just spacey. But I thought I heard you say Moira.
Yeah, you're
So,
like,
yeah,
wait
Lily
a second.
comes,
The description fits Lily, but he said Moira. What is he doing?
yeah. For a second there, I know he's waiting for me, but he said Moira. So,
wait, I'm really close.
Yeah.
So,
Lily, I almost did it again. Lily.
yeah, Lily just goes up and she says, I mean, she's probably about the same size as the child, but she calls it little one anyway. And she's like, hello, little one. And she's kind of a calming presence because she's small and the same size as the girl. And she says, may I take a look? And she wants to just examine her to see if she's injured or needs any help or anything like that.
Yeah. she's like and as you kind of look her over, you can see that she's definitely bruised and scraped. She has a bunch of superficial cuts through her linen shift that you didn't notice from a distance, but Lily wouldn't know this because she didn't see it, but Moira would. It's from where the goblins were kind of poking at her with their spears.
Well, she's seen goblin spear wounds before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it looks suspiciously familiar.
Yeah, nothing looks life-threatening on this
Right.
little girl.
So, yes. So, Lily, come. What's your name, little one?
She's like,
It's okay.
Sarah.
It's all right, Sarah. We're here now. We'll help you. And she wants to know what's happened, but she already knows and she doesn't want to upset the little girl anymore.
Yeah. You ran past the man that was butchered in the yard.
Yes.
And she looks at you, her eyes all bloodshot, face just grimy. And she goes, and she can't even finish. And Tompkin kind of just looks at you and he looks crestfallen. And
Lily just looks at him and she's like, we're going to have to take her.
And he nods his head, doesn't say anything. And Moira, what are you doing?
Moira is rubbing the smoke and the tears from her eyes, and she's continuing her circuit back around. Although a little wary, she's very in tune with Isfel, and the ears back and the kind of dancing step to the side tells her that something's not quite right, although she can't see it.
Yes, Isfel, you feel her below you. It's like you guys are she's almost an extension of you when you're riding her. And you can feel her tense. She smells something.
Moira still has her blade in her hand, and she just kind of leans forward and pats Isfel's neck and does a slow circle and still sees nothing. There's just this unease, the prickling at the back of her neck.
Yeah, you see Isfael's ears kind of perk up, twitch, roll one way, the other. And as you kind of lean in and stroke her neck, I'm just going to make the noise. She just goes, and you feel her kind of loosen a bit or relax below you.
Yeah, it's mutually reinforcing. Moira relaxes a little bit as well. Doesn't let down her guard, to be sure,
Mm-hmm.
but it feels a little less dread and sense of foreboding, and heads back over to where Tompkins and presumably Lily are.
Perfect. Yeah. As you just kind of cautiously ride up, I would imagine that Moira is like head on a swivel. She's not like focusing totally on Tompkin and Lily. She's like looking for any places where danger could possibly be. And you see none. And you notice the closer you get to Tompkin and Lily, Isfael relaxes more and more. Oh, sorry. I never switched my screen. Thank you. My bad. And yeah, I didn't notice either. I just wanted to get back into the story so quick that I didn't even notice and I didn't click it. But that's fine. So as you get up there, you see as you get up there, you see that Tompkin and Lily are trying to comfort this young girl.
Yes, Lily hands her a handkerchief. Here you go, girlie.
She takes the handkerchief, but she just uses the back of her, the sleeve of her shift to rub her face. But then she takes the handkerchief and kind of blows her nose into it. And Tompkin looks at you both and says, "It's a good idea that we at least looked at this. That was foolish, Moira. You know, there could have been others. You would have been dead."
You should have stayed back. Notice that you didn't bring Lily with you. What if someone had gone after her?
He says, he looks at you and he kind of looks like this apologetic look passes across his face, but he says it anyways, Lily. He goes, "The fool hobbit, she ran off after you. I thought it would be more help if there was some threat. If I rode ahead."
Lily looks slightly abashed at being accused of running off, but she says, "But there was, she just kind of doesn't know what to say." And then she looks at Sarah. "Well, I didn't know it, but Sarah needed me. I thought someone might."
Moira actually chuckles a little. Lily, Took, you are the most incorrigibly optimistic person.
But I was right.
That's what's so frustrating.
Lily almost laughs at that. Pats her pockets and finds a package with some dried fruit in it and gives it to the little girl. Here's Sarah. You'll feel better if you eat something."
Good. Moira and Lily, please give me a wisdom save, please.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh no.
Is this have anything to do with corruption?
It does.
Then I get advantage, so.
You mean corruption like from Sauron?
Oh,
It's not corruption in that sense. It's just the exposure to the murdering and the killing of the goblins.
Okay, I thought we were about to save against some sort of
yeah.
spell or something, and I was going, "Oh no."
You're fine. You guys are both fine. You guys would have had to roll a 1 or a 2.
Oh no, I had like a 13.
Yeah, to take any shadow. So yeah, you don't take any shadow. You guys, with what you guys have been through, this is probably minor.
It says I have advantage saving throws against corruption.
Yeah.
So any sort of corruption, as far as I read that.
It's the resiliency of those dang hobbits.
Yeah, we're stubborn and we're tough.
Well, I think it's because
hard-headed.
I think it's because the Rangers have sheltered you for so long in the Shire that you just don't believe in this corruption even when you see it. That's what I think. But that's just my point of view.
That could be part of it. You know, we're used to happy endings much more than many people in the world.
Right on. Right. I'm sure Lily still sees this happy ending for you three. So
Of course,
we'll see if
even
she's
though
right.
she was almost murdered by wargs recently.
Right. So Tomkin looks at the two of you and he says, and then he looks at the girl and he says, "Little one, are there any others? Are they all dead but you?" And she just sadly nods her head. And he looks at you, Moira, and then you, Lily, and he says, "Well then, you should be quickly away. We shouldn't tarry long. The others might come back." And
Yes, we must go.
you see him scoop up the little girl and set her up at the front of his saddle, and he mounts up behind her. "Well, we've lost some time, but not much."
I imagine Lily rides behind Moira, leaving Moira free to guide her horse.
Right. I'm going to leave that up to her. She's the warrior.
Yeah, she'd probably just let you ride behind.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you started complaining about not being able to see.
You look back and Lily's facing the wrong way.
Yeah, Lily's sitting backwards. No, I don't think so, but she may be peering back over her shoulder quite a bit and trying to look around behind her as they go forward.
So you guys set back off on your path to the road, the east-west road, the road that leads to Bree and the road that leads to the Shire. You would know it, Lily, because not long ago you and Arafor traveled this road to Bree. And you see Tomkin, he looks up. He's looking up at the sky. Still not many clouds. Sun is high, but it's starting to dip. Starting to make its move to the distant west. And he says, "Our luck holds," and he kind of chuckles at that as he's looking back at you, Moira and Lily, and he can see the flames. I mean, the smoke still rising from the burned out farmstead. And he says, "We should make the road before nightfall." And he doesn't really wait for a response. He just turns and starts riding ahead of you.
Moira turns her horse to follow.
Yeah, and with regards to the weather, maybe you looking up at the sky too, and you get a sense that it's going to be clear skies, at least through the evening.
So, sitting back there, Lily says to Moira, "You know, I've watched the weather many seasons. The weather interests me. I believe it will stay clear." Some sort of certainty.
Yeah. Arafor, you're making your way. You've just taken your turn carrying this orc. And you stop. And when you stop, you look ahead. And Varen is pointing to smoke rising in the distance. He goes, "That's the Everleafs. That's the Everleaf farmstead. Oh, my name's not Varen. Good people. They've took a couple children." And you see this dark look kind of cross the other rangers as you all know what is probably the fate of that farmstead. Redwald relieves you, or steps up to relieve you, as you kind of rub your shoulder, kind of roll it around where you've been bearing the weight of this orc with Theodulf.
Yeah, Arafor would kind of frown at the smoke, the burned farmstead, but his eyes would stay focused on the trail, the hoof prints of Isfael and the other ranger's horse.
So Arafor,
just following it with an intensity.
Yeah, as now you move into the position of starting to track again. what is your reaction when you see that the trail left by the horses you're following shift and head towards this farmstead?
Arafor's face would become like a strange, almost comprehensible mixture of like a chuckle and a frown. As it's like all too obvious what happened and probably why. But he would follow he'd follow the tracks where they went anyways, not having anywhere else to go off of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of course they would try to do something stupid.
And you follow the tracks. It's not hard. There's no attempt was taken to conceal their trail. And as you get up to the tree line, to these burning fields, livestock killed where they stood, you see the remnants of a barn mostly burned out, and you only see the shell, the roof long gone from a small cottage. Thin, dark wisps of smoke are rising up from both of these buildings. Fields that were aflame are mostly blackened now, and with small fires still burning in places. You see it almost immediately. The churned up earth where Moira must have spurred Israel forward with speed towards this burning farm. You hear a grumble, and Arnkel says, "The foul one is awake." And you look back and you can see the orc, its eyes open, black blood still slick across the side of its face where you had struck it with your shield. You can see the hate in its eyes as it looks across at you all.
Arafor turns back towards Arnkel, and now this orc. And his face just goes completely stern and serious. So he'll walk up slowly to the group of rangers, and this orc. Good. The orc. I'm just speaking in regular common. Understand me right now.
I'm sorry, what did you ask?
Can you understand me right now? I'm basically trying to see if it can speak.
Yeah, it nods. Its
this
head
comment.
bobs. It's still gagged, but yeah.
All right. You're going to keep quiet. We're going to hurt you very badly, and then you're going to die. You're going to answer our questions. Is that clear?
It just looks at you. Doesn't give any indication.
Arafor grabs the arrow that he had shot into it at the start of the fight and just like yanks it around.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you just see it struggle against its bindings. The two rangers that were getting ready to pick him up lay it back on the ground, and it just kind of thrashes around. You get a sense that it gets the message.
Yeah, just to be sure, Arafor would ask again, "Are we clear?"
And it grudgingly nods its head. You can see the hate in its eyes as it looks at you.
All right. With that, Arafor would pull the dagger out of his belt, and keeping it up against its neck just in case it decides to try to make any noise other than conversation. But he would tentatively pull the gag out and then down from its jaw.
Dirty, stinky rangers.
Arafor just ignores it and gets straight to the point. We're tracking a blonde woman. Who was she? Who is she, and what do you want with her?
The master. The master wants her.
Why?
I don't know why.
Arafor is gonna like pull on the arrow again.
Give me an intimidation with advantage because you're pulling on an arrow.
All right, that is 15 on the die. It's gonna be 14.
What did you say? 14?
Yeah.
Yeah. It says, the master wants her. She important to the master.
Why?
I don't know why.
What's her name? What do you know about her?
Don't know her name. Just know
What
that
defining features did your master give you? There are many blonde women. You have to have a way to identify her.
she travels south. She important to the master. Kill the others. Keep her safe, the master says.
What did the master tell you would see that you'd be sure it was her? I need details.
Moira, could you please describe yourself to Arafor?
Young, blonde, easily identifiable as Rohan, red cloak, big horse. A sword with a bit of a horse head for a pommel.
This orc describes Moira with the exception he doesn't mention the sword and he doesn't mention the horse. Otherwise, he's described Moira to you.
Yeah, Arafor is like already stern face, like twists with that, like contorting even further somehow. What else did the master tell you? Anything else?
Rangers let me go.
You tell me about your master, I'll let you go.
Powerful. Kill the Rangers, he will. Sorcerer. Servant of the shadow.
Does this sorcerer have a name or go by anything?
We calls him Gorlak.
And you're sure you don't know anything about why this Gorlak wants this woman? Or the Rangers will not be eager to let you go if you can't provide all the information we need.
We don't know. Just know important to Gorlak. You let me go now. I answered your questions.
Forrest's gonna look up to the other Rangers, like with that look. He doesn't say anything, but just that look of like anything else.
Redwall just gives you that approving nod.
All right. You can go back to the pits that spawned you as he cuts its throat.
Yeah, it just kind of dies. It
We need to catch up to them now. As quick as we can go.
They all agree with you. No one says a word. Oh, actually, Arnkel says one thing. When he looks down at the dead orc, he says, or He says, "Good riddance." And then the 5 of you take off, newfound urgency. So do you pass through the farmstead as the tracks lead you?
I imagine that we probably would have to. Like, we don't know
Right.
exactly where they went, so all we
Right.
have is the tracks. So he
Well, I
probably
didn't know
kind
if you
of
were going to do your
scan the
little thing where you
fields.
lay on the ground again.
I can only do it once per rest.
Oh,
so I
long
can,
rest. That's right.
yeah. So he's gonna just like scan the fields and kind of see where the tracks
All right.
wind around, and then go back out and just try to cut.
Yeah.
There.
So give me a D4. D4 -1.
It's a 2 on the die for 1 total.
1. Yeah. So you guys spend just shy of an hour. You approach this cautiously, this farmstead. All you find is the slain, some of the slain farmsteaders. And you see where there was a battle. You find you find kind of what has already happened. And then you find further off in the field the slain warg, and you see the telltale signs of Moira's and her horse. And you see that 2 riders have head off again, heading up kind of not directly south, but kind of like a kind of a slant southward to probably get back on path. And you see that the lead horse, which you assume is Tompkins, is a little bit heavier.
They're still alive. We have to catch them.
Yeah, you see no evidence of any kind of like blood, like red blood. All you see is the blackish orc blood around the dead goblins, which is a good sign.
Yeah. With that, Arafor is gonna push the pace as fast as they can, like, go without just causing a complete ruckus. That's the pace he's gonna push.
Yeah. So give me a con roll to push yourselves. And Moira and Lily, you're riding along with Tompkin. And you see Tompkin's mood get more improved as time goes on. And at one point, he kind of turns in his saddle and he says, "Won't be long now, lasses. We're nearly there." And he points off into the distance, and you can see where the trees are thinning, and you can see this green belt of a field that leads to the east-west road. And so he picks up the pace a little bit, and you guys find yourself onto the beaten path that leads west into the Shire and east to Bree. And when you get up onto the road, you see it. You don't see anyone on it. At least as far as you can see, kind of bends a little bit to your right if you look towards Bree. But you could stretch as far as the eye can see the other way towards the Shire. And Tompkin has this smile on his face. He says, "Told you I'd get you here safely. Well, minus that war again, a couple of goblins, but you took good care of that, Moira."
Lily kind of looks. Doesn't this road normally have more people on it?
He kind of shrugs. Tompkin kind of shrugs. "Well, it's late afternoon. I would imagine most travelers are either making camp or at their destination."
Because I don't know that we're safe even yet.
And he kind of frowns a bit to that. Him thinking, well, I just had to get you to the road. We're here. And he's kind of like, he's stumbling now. You've got him thinking.
And she kind of, knowing that she's sort of harping on a theme, we were attacked right in the Shire during the day by goblins.
Aye, that's what Arafor said.
I feel awfully exposed out here. when she's not in the heat of something, she, remembers and gets a little more nervous about things.
Yeah, he looks over at the sun that's lower in the sky now, and he says, well, a few more hours of sunlight, we could start making our way to Bree.
And what happened to the rest of the orcs or whatever that attacked that farm? Where are they?
He shakes his head. He doesn't know. He didn't look for any sign.
Are they ahead of us? Have they gone off to the side? What? Perhaps we just...
Moira kind of shakes her head. There's no way to know the answer to all of these. And safe is a relative term. We're on a main road.
I just think we ought to be cautious.
Of course.
And it's almost amusing because Lily is rarely actually cautious for all of her talk.
You notice that Sarah is kind of just is asleep in front of Tompkin. She's kind of nestled into him.
Yes.
The trauma and exhaustion of what has happened to her family getting the better of her.
We do need to get her to a town.
Yeah,
he
looks down at her and he says, well, I plan to take this one to Bree. And I have to keep you safe. Because of that, we have to travel together. So Bree it is. And you see him, his eyes, you see that he's looking at the tree lines, Lily.
Right.
Moira kind of nods her head. And do you think we can make it by dark or not long after?
He shakes his head, no. At best, we could be there tomorrow. And he kind of looks around. He's kind of measuring where he's at. He says, this isn't quite where I wanted to come out. Damn deer. Probably laid a new trail. And he kind of chuckles at his own mistake. He goes, maybe we'll make Bree by tomorrow. If not, we'll be close enough that there'll be more farms, more safety. Rangers are often on this road closer to Bree. We'll be safe. And give me an insight roll, both of you, as he says that.
Oh, that's a nat 20. Plus 2, so it's a total of 22.
Yeah, it sounds to you. It sounds like he's confident in what he's saying. To you, Lily, it sounds like he's lying through his teeth just to set your guys at ease. He doesn't necessarily.
Lily's just been down this road.
Huh?
I said Lily's just been down this road.
Yeah.
And she senses that there maybe is something wrong, and he's just trying to reassure us.
Right. So you guys, unless you guys oppose Tompkin leading you eastward towards Bree, you start riding along this road. And as you guys get around this bend, you do see travelers heading towards you. See, it looks like a caravan of some sort. A man is astride a horse. He seems to be fully covered and cloaked in many furs. You see a couple of carts being pulled by ponies behind it and a string of other ponies. And you see several people walking alongside these carts. And they seem to be approaching you with no certain sense of urgency as you guys ride up.
They don't look military.
No, they definitely look armed. Not the rider, but you see others. You would guess. Have you ever seen a dwarf before, Lily? Probably not. You've probably only
I would
heard
guess
of.
not. She's
probably only heard of dwarves.
Yeah.
And Moira, you probably would have seen a dwarf in your travels. But you would mark that there are several dwarves in with a few larger human folk. And as you approach, Tompkin raises a hand of greeting, and as does the man that's riding the horse. And Tompkin greets in the greeting says, "Hello. So it's safe to travel this road. Even a group as large as yours." And he says, "We've seen orc along this road." And he points back. He says, "Found a farmstead earlier today, burned down. All killed except for this little girl here." And you see a woman come forward in this caravan. And she says, "Is she okay? I could see her if she is injured."
And Lily pipes up. I believe she's fine. I have some healing skills. She's mostly just been really frightened and some scratches and bruises. But she needs to be where someone can care for her. We have errands to run, things to do.
The woman standing alongside the older man, and he just looks old. His face he's got sunken black eyes, like almost like a raven-like beak of a nose. And literally from his neck all the way down, he's just wearing these layers of furs, even though it's rather warm. And he says, "Well, won't be held up before we're going to get as much distance as we can before light falls." And the woman standing beside him says, "If she needs help, we must help her." And you hear one of these dwarfs in the back yell, "Yeah, we'll help her if we can." And we'll switch to Arafor at this point. Arafor, you guys are making good time. And you make the road and you see signs that they're heading towards Bree. You quickly make pace, and you look at this. You probably have a few hours of light still before it gets dark. And as you come across this bend, you look ahead and you see the sight that you've been wanting. You see Moira astride her great horse. You see Tompkin, the little hobbit. Oh wait, no, the hobbit's on behind Moira. Little hobbit tucked in behind Moira, and you see Tompkin. They seem to be conversing with a caravan as you guys close the distance and start to approach.
Yeah, seeing them, Arafor is going to break into a jog across the field, just wanting to get the last little bit done as quickly as he can. And he'll like wave a hand, just trying to get whatever attention he can. And I'll just give out a nondescript yell.
And I'll let them decide who does that, who sees you first.
And it's probably Moira. She's letting Lily do the talking, conversing about the child. And she hears Arafor's voice and rather rudely interrupting Lily's conversation, turns Isfel, which she's never gotten off, around and just rides back towards him.
Awesome. I love it.
Lily kind of looks around for a second, and then she sees Arafor, and she's like, "It's Arafor!"
Yes, I know.
Arafor! And she's kind of waving her hands behind Moira. I don't know if Arafor can really see her behind Moira.
He probably sees his little arms sticking out on either side.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So Arafor, they've seen you. They're riding towards you. You see these other rangers materialize out of the edge of the trees, and are following Arafor down towards you. Tompkin is like mid-sentence with this old man, and he says, "Well, anyways, and he looks to you, and you guys are reunited again."
I'm sorry. I should never have left you. I was a fool to do so.
All is well, Arafor. We've been fine. We came across a farm. You look exhausted.
It's been a long day. As he kind of like nods his head down towards his side where there's like some blood caked against his armor. And probably still some tinged on his sword.
Lily kind of leans out to the side so she can see him. It looks like you've seen more action than we have. Really, we have been fine. And we saved a little girl.
Yeah. The other rangers move past you where you guys have stopped. All except for Redwald, who stops beside you, Arafor. But continue.
Arafor's face kind of turns serious again for a second. He looks up, his head tilting upwards to meet Moira just right in the eyes. Moira, I need a word. It's important. He kind of like nods towards like all these people who are kind of gathered around them.
Yeah.
Moira,
So sorry.
She slides off Isfail and somewhat hesitantly hands the reins to Lily.
Lily, give me an animal check.
Lily kind of goes,
No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to do it. She's so well trained.
All right. That's all right. We did a total of 18, man. We're good.
Oh, that's right. It's carts that you don't do well with. I forgot.
And that's Laurel and not Lily.
So,
Lily.
sensing that you want some privacy, Redwald just gives you a pat on your shoulder, and joins the rest of the Rangers as they're heading towards Tompkin. So it just leaves the three of you. So Moira.
All right. I therefore kind of like doesn't know exactly how to say it. Look. I don't know why. I don't know how many. But the goblins that we encountered, they were looking for you. Without a doubt, they described their target to me in great detail.
What? Me? No, that's... Therefore, you must be mistaken.
Blonde woman, young of age, Rohirrim, red cloak, warhorse.
But... why me?
I wish I could say. I wish I had more answers.
Why would they want to kill me particularly? I don't...
They don't want to kill you. They want to
But
take
that's what
you.
they do. Take me where? And you can see that Moira's confidence is slipping. And the exterior shell of the warrior, the one who knows what she's doing is crumbling. And there's a frightened teenage girl underneath it. Take me where? Arafor?
There's a man who's fallen to shadow. The goblins called him a sorcerer, but obviously I can't confirm that. His name is Gorlak. I don't know how he knows you, or why he wants you. But there's one thing that I do know. As long as I'm here, he won't get you.
I don't understand.
know this is a lot to put on you, but it's better that you know and are prepared to be caught by surprise.
Is that why you're hurt then? Because of me?
No, we tracked these goblins fair and square on our own. We happened to pick up where they were going, but they heard us coming up on them. So, battle was a necessary cause. Nothing we could have done to avoid it, but you had no hand in it.
Moira steps back and just like puts her face up against Isvel's cheek and is reflexively stroking her nose.
So, actually, so Lily, you're holding the reins to Israel, close enough that you can hear Arafor talking with Moira.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear him say the sorcerer's name. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you have an ability, you have a feature, don't you? That when you're in a safe place, right? Maybe you could just let us all know how that feature works, because I do have some information for you.
Okay, let me see. I have it right here somewhere. Okay, news from afar. You know many things that are hidden from most, and tidings of distant events tend to reach you with astonishing speed. The source of your knowledge is obscure, and you do not explain how you know the things you do to others. It is enough that what you know is true. At the start of each adventuring phase or after spending time in a sanctuary, the lore master should inform you of one or two events of importance occurring somewhere in Wilderland.
Mm-hmm. So when you hear that information, your mind immediately kind of jumps back to the night before you had turned in for the evening, given into the exhaustion of everything that you had experienced. You heard several of the rangers talking around the cook fire. They're talking about movement of orcs in the north, about the ruined fortress of Fornost, and at the rising of evil once again in the north, and whispers of a sorcerer of great power, and he's drawing to him creatures of shadow. So you would know that. So when you hear that, all these pieces kind of fall in together for Lily. The attack in the Shire, the attacks along the farms along the northern reaches of Breland, the Rangers' increased presence moving in and around there, and now a name to the sorcerer, and it's Gorlank. The orc could not say it correctly, but the right way would be Gorlank. But yeah, so, and you would probably know that. You would, because you had heard some whispering, whether it was in a dream, the name Gorlank. So when you hear Arafor say Gorlak, maybe that's when you pipe up and you say, "Do you mean Gorlank?" But I'll let you decide whether or not you say that or not.
It's just the three of us, so she says, "Do you mean Gorlank? I've heard rumors and stories. A sorcerer of great power, and he's drawing evil creatures to him somewhere up north. At Fornath, the ruined fortress."
So two things you take from that Arafor. One is that Lily seems to know more than she sometimes lets off, which is good. The other is the rangers you traveled with, none of them said anything to you about that as you questioned the orc.
Yeah, Arafor, for the time being, pushes both of those things back in his mind. And he looks over to Moira, this facade that's like melted away, the fearful person underneath. And And as best as he can, he's not super charismatic. He'll try his best anyways. There's not a whole lot else I can say. I wish I could give you more information. And he'll take his sword out, kind of holding it pommel in one hand and the blade resting on the other, and he'll kneel down. I'll swear on the same oath that I swore for Aradreth, see his quest done, that you will see it done too, unharmed. The only way you'll be taken is if they take you from my dead body. I swear it.
Lily sighs because this all seems rather impractical and romantic, although cool.
Lily.
Moira is looking down and just kind of shaking her head. No, don't swear that, please. Therefore, I can't. I don't.
I hate to interrupt you, Moira, but you hear whispers in your mind.
Oh God.
It's Aradra's voice. Not word for word what Arafor said, but it's the same sort of oath that the young knight had made to you. An oath of safety, protection. It whispers through your mind as Arafor kneels before you and makes a similar oath. Please continue.
I can't. Therefore, please, I don't want you to die for me.
He'll stand up and sheath his sword. Then, guess we'll have to keep each other alive then, huh?
Love it. Love it.
He gets a half-hearted chuckle.
Lily actually smiles at that, though. To her, that seems much more practical.
As you guys are finishing up this conversation, you see that there seems to be some more activity at the front of this caravan. And you see that the little girl now is the woman has approached and is standing beside Tompkins' horse and seems to be looking at the little girl. And you see this large man, probably the biggest man you have ever seen, walk up alongside, and he takes the little girl almost effortlessly from in front of Tompkin and sets her down in front of this woman who kneels down and is looking over the girl, kind of pushing her hair back and soothing her. And you see this dwarf comes trundling up next to this large man, and that's where we'll end this session. Thanks, guys. That was fun. This ends chapter 8 of Friends and Foes. You guys did awesome. If there's anything you guys want to add or any kind of outros you want to do, I'll let you guys do that. If not, we're going to end the stream. Start with you, Carol. Anything you want to plug? You running any more games lately?
No, I haven't any. I've been gone for 3 weeks. I haven't been running games or even really thinking about it for a while, but
well,
I'm just really enjoying getting a chance to play in Middle-earth, and I thank you very much for running this for us, Lionel.
Not a problem. You jumped right back into Lily's little role perfectly. Jeff.
Yeah. I had a good time with it. It's always fun to play with this group and in Middle-earth, so I'm glad we got to do that. Finally get to do it after trying really hard to be comforting and helpful, but it seems that he's doing quite the opposite all the time. So
It's okay.
Have any adverse consequences in the long term?
Nah,
No.
Not at all.
Not at
Middle
all.
Earth.
Not at all. You'll be fine. And last but definitely not least, Taylor.
Thanks for running, Lionel.
Yeah, no problem.
That was definitely a plot twist I did not anticipate. So I'm nervous, excited to see where it goes next.
You guys are doing stellar. Yeah, you did not disappoint at all. I am Lionel. This is Two Guys in D&D, and we love Middle Earth. And thanks for watching.